Hello and happy Saturday. It's fucking Saturday. Oh, man.
That is the time that we do this show.
Well, yeah, I mean, you guys are here. You guys, it's easy. You're like, I'm here. It's Saturday. I stream every fucking day. I'm just streaming. I'm like, what am I streaming today? What fucking day is this? What year is it? Who am I? Epic weekend hype. Hey, Dap, welcome. Hey, Board. Hey, Rube, thanks for the games earlier. All the lurkers. How's everyone doing? It's Tuesday. Fuck. It's supposed to be working.
Oops.
All right. So, I guess we're starting off with a refresher. Because it's been a little while since we did this, because I finished a bunch of games finally, so we had games to talk about, and then Pseudo's back in school, so he can't be here all the time, and we try not to do it too much without him. Sometimes he's not here, and we're like, we want to work on this. But we love Pseudo's input, so we try not to. Turns out three heads makes a way better game than two heads.
Sometimes.
It does. Well, Pseudo's head added to our heads makes a much better game than without Pseudo's head.
Agree.
Between us, there is and brain by our neurons combined.
By our neurons combined. Love that. I'm gonna steal that.
Nobody is committing negative work to this project.
This is true. And if there is quote unquote negative work, it's not really negative. It's just pointing out that we need to work on something. This isn't good enough. So yeah, we left ourselves a nice to-do. It's almost like we're used to working on projects in chunks.
What?
I didn't remember this, but our to-do was to discuss the costs to cast magic, figure out a point system for the costs, and whatever other limiting factors we want, like the time. Proposal was 1 point per mental stat required. Or 1 point per mental stat is what you have, and 1 hour of meditation per point to restore.
And if I recall correctly, that was for the do it now spells, whereas you can just work against a work total for things that you don't need to have happen immediately.
Well, that's how you cast the spell, but you still, that's to cast the spell, but there's still the cost to cast the spell. So you may have to do the work for a while, and the more work you have to do, the more points it's going to be, and then you would have to meditate after. Because the more points to cast is the work total.
That's not what I was remembering.
Okay.
Maybe I'm misremembering, but I had remembered something akin to, like, you could do the work total, or you could have it happen, because, like, we've got that note for the pool for just do it now casts, which we didn't actually come up with a cost for.
Okay, so
it's been a while.
There also could be misunderstandings, since this isn't actually fleshed out. This was just a jot down thing, right? So we haven't discussed this yet. So, okay, proposal. Let's start with this system and we'll refine from here, okay? You have a number of points equal to the total of all your mental stats, is what this is saying. That sounds like a lot, honestly. We might want to reduce that, but it depends how much things are costing. It costs 1 point per level of spell required. So the most a single sphere could cost would be 5.
But if you wanted to mix two high-level spheres, you'd have to have high in both of them.
Yep. Which means you're guaranteed to have enough spell points all the time.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting fallout of that. I didn't even think of that. But you could never have the ability to cast something you don't have the points for, which is kind of cool.
So the thing that I'm thinking now is we've got a character that's a mage. They want to have an action-packed session. They've got N number of casts, but well, they've got n number of points, but the number of useful casts they can make with those points is generally n divided by 3.
Yeah.
That means that you're very limited on the number of casts you have, and with how much we've put into countering magic because it is so versatile, it seems less compelling to use.
I think it's putting magic into a spot right now where it's less use it all the time and live off of it, and more whip it out when it's most effective to really sway the combat in your favor.
Yes, I agree that is what this system is doing. Is that what we want it to do?
I do like the idea of limiting the magic more. It makes it more valuable when you cast it.
Maybe we do 2 points per mental stat, because then you get more casts. Because remember, your most useful magic is going to be update or greater.
Yes.
That's the stuff that you're going to want to be able to use, 3 or 4 times in a combat, maybe even more than that. Okay. But your read and sense, you want to be able to essentially spam.
I'm with you. I'm with you. And those read and sense are going to become very insignificant casts at those really low points with that big pool. And then when you want to really change things, it's going to be once in a while. And that's 3 hours of meditation for every reasonably powerful cast, which takes you out of things. And meditation is not resting. Do we agree on this?
Yes, meditation is not resting.
Okay, but so let's look at it from a min-max standpoint first. It's always the best place to look, right? Look at our edge variables. We've got 4 stats ranging 0 to 5. So the minimum you could have at 1 point per is 0, and the most you could have is 20. Versus at 2, it's 0 to 40.
And 20 means you get 4, you are a grandmaster in every school of magic, and you get 4 casts.
I agree it's too little. I'm never in disagreement on that.
Yeah. So that definitely takes some tweaking.
Did we ever come to a conclusion on what we wanted to do with those savable castings, the scrolls or the usables? Where you could pre-do the work and store them for big encounters?
We did not come to a conclusion on that.
We have not talked about how we want to handle that yet. And that we'll probably talk about that when we get to items, but I agree it might play a role on the balance of the magic here. Do we want to talk about it now, or do we want to figure this out and then work it in?
I think it might help with that solution of there's only so much they can, it's kind of they have as much as they can cast that are wild card, but this way it'll allow them to prepare how many they want to be able to do just kind of in total, right? So it's it's kind of that more balance where they can't just cast all the stuff they want in the situation. They'll just kind of been able to prepare for certain things beforehand, and maybe we can have it that there's certain spells that are better able to be stored like this. But then that was kind of the idea where you just have these scrolls that you do 90% of the effort, and then only thing you need left to do them is just to do that that last 10% to be able to cast them. To kind of have a bit of a way to have mages still do something or have the ability to do a bit more rather than just
which
blowing
sounds
their load and then just waiting for nighttime.
Which sounds strong, but when you consider the fact that these prepared things have to have a specific effect on them, it's so much more limiting. You have to assume what you're going into first.
We could also balance that aspect of it by saying, you need, n levels of engraving, or n-1 or n-2 to get that level of spell effect. So would have to be you'd have to have engraving 2 to engrave a level 1 spell, sort of thing.
I also like the idea of using cost, and we can start getting an economy money sink this way, where in order to engrave, it is X times spell level cost in materials in order to actually prepare this thing.
Yeah, I mean, we can take a look at the implementation for that. I'm not a huge fan of materials systems in general, but
Yeah, I'm not talking material for casting magic, but material in preparing a scroll. Because you do need to get, inks and print and stuff like that for different settings.
For sure. And that is something that we can look at as a cost for doing engraving.
Yeah.
Which I just said the word engraving, and it's really sticking for me for like putting a spell on an inanimate object.
Yeah, I like it. We could even look at it as actual engraving. Like, the engraving could just be the drawing of the thing on a paper if it's a consumable, but it could be actual engraving runes onto armor if you're doing weapons and whatnot.
Engraving? Inscribing. I don't know. I kind of like engraving better.
Yeah, I like engraving. Magically engraving.
It'd be kind of cool because we could have it be like these. I mean, they could be like stone tablets or something that you carry. You actually engrave it into it, and then when you use it, it consumes it.
Yeah, well, it also makes it.
Slate.
It also lets it work in like any setting. Any setting, basically. You can go so far back that there's no paper, and you can still like etch a rune in a rock.
Yep. And you could use the term inscribe could also be used for that.
Could be.
But I like the word engraving better.
Yeah.
Necromancer engraving of a spell is just burying a corpse.
So if we're going to have, we did talk about two different kinds of consumables. Engraving, which I'm thinking is going to be the wizard does 90% of the work and then does the last 10% to activate. And then there was another one where you just create an item that can cast a spell. And those spells would obviously be limited based on, what would be useful to just have an inanimate object do. But like you could have magical grenades in any time setting. You just throw a rock that has an explosion engraved on it.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. You could throw it and then like do the work after it lands, and then boop.
Hey, Magpie. Yeah, that does make. You see, you could stay up all night and not sleep, and just prepare a bunch of rocks. You just be carrying a bunch of rocks, and your party be like, "The fuck? What are you carrying those for?" Unless they see the little rune you've got marked on it.
Just pocket sand. Turn it into a flamethrower. And so that's the engraving. And then we've got consumable magic items, which, this one, I think, like, consumable magic item creation skill rank N-2 for the creation, because you don't necessarily want to have like the power of having an inanimate object that can do deletion magic.
Yeah, I mean, you want them to be able to exist within the system, but you don't want the player to be able to create them.
Be pretty strong.
It could just require some like rare resource that is just,
Hippie lady at country fair class. Pretty much. That's what we're talking about here. You could totally do a modern setting game with crazy hippies that actually have crazy hippie magic.
That's the fun part of building systems. The consumable items, though, so to increase the level of magic you can inscribe into a consumable, Inscribe for consumables, it's perfect. Engrave for reusable, inscribe for consumable. But to increase the level of magic you can inscribe onto a consumable, maybe there's some sort of reagent or item that the person creating that thing needs to have in order to reduce the penalty on inscription.
I see. So you're saying with engraving and inscribing should cost less because it's temporary or
It
consumable.
So what I'm saying is it needs to be power capped at 3 for stuff you can do in the field. Because being able to just create rocks that delete things is OP.
We want to save that for the GM and NPCs and stuff like that to play with.
So there's some unobtainium thing that like somebody would be able to create, level 4 magic on a consumable. And that it should have the same cost as engraving, but obviously it's only a one-time use. Like you couldn't inscribe something onto a piece of armor and use it more than once. It would be burned up. That inscription would be consumed by the cast.
Your camera's really flickering there, Pseudo. Not sure what's up with
It's
it.
really distracting.
Yeah, it's distracting me too. It's OBS. OBS is having a struggle. OBS is dropping frames, and when OBS drops frames...
Yeah, that makes sense. Why would OBS be the struggle bus? That makes no sense, though. It's not like you have a lack of power.
Welcome to computer.
Anyway,
Damn.
so let's go to, I guess, Magic System. Magic System is where we should record this kind of stuff. So
Maybe some things can hold more or more powerful magic. A rock is going to hold maybe a single regular fireball. A pristine diamond can hold a big fireball for comparatively cheap. That leans a little too heavy into a material system, and I think that would sort of hamstring certain settings.
Yeah, it locks too much to a setting. I agree. It's less a system and more a game mechanic.
Interesting idea, though. Just I don't think it works at a system level.
It's essentially what I proposed earlier that I said we can look at later when we're dealing more with items and whatnot, and then you basically said the same thing. Yeah. But we're on the same page, Magpie. We did have the same thought, had the same idea, shared a moment there.
So inscription, to define those two terms, inscription is consumable magic placed on inanimate objects.
I'm just going to call it prepared magic. Period. We understand what prepared magic is, right? Pre-prepared, prepared. It's our readied thing.
Yeah. And then engraving is potentially reusable prepared magic. Like, do we want a scroll or scroll analog to be reusable? Like, once somebody makes that scroll, it's got a number of charges on it.
No.
Yeah, that would be too much to track.
Yep. Just keep it simple. The mechanic is there, the ability is there. They can just have multiple pieces of paper. It's not like paper is hard to stack up.
So how do we then want... So the way that I proposed it was inscription is very limited. It is skill level -2, consumable, one-time use, prepared magic. Engraving is prepared magic that requires magical activation to cast. Because like this is the difference between a wand of fireball or a scroll of fireball in D&D. Like anybody can activate the scroll. You need to be magically awakened
Attuned?
to use the wand.
That would be probably up to the GM, and as a GM, I would allow it. Because it really depends on what a person thinks of a corpse as.
I mean, even just like a person, like just put it in their arm. All right.
A person is not
magic
inanimate. It
tattoo.
would have to be, but yeah. So
You
it'd
can
have to be
combine it
special,
with
but-
update life.
Yeah. I mean, it depends, like what the
Yeah,
like
if
you
you
can
had
argue the
enough-
interpretation of where the object ends, right? Like, like is it just a mech suit person in the driver's seat, or like when they pick up a stick or hold a sword or tape it to their arm, does that also become part of the inanimate object too?
Update life with level 5 engraving to inscribe spells into your body that you can then activate with your own magic power later to use
Fire
them.
fists.
I was already
Yeah.
thinking of that as a physical adept who is also a tattooist, and then she can tattoo spells onto other people for them as well.
Maybe like neat mage armor, just tattoos.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I've already had this thought.
My anti-mage is gonna be so sick. Just fucking full bodysuit tattoos. Dope.
Oh man, I already see some wonderful storytelling with Yakuza mage killers. Or Yakuza Phys-Adepts. Like the entire... Because the whole ideology of the Yakuza is against firearms and leaning towards melee weapons, mostly because firearms laws are so strict in Japan that it's hard to get guns. So they have stuck to swords and knives and a lot of stuff like that over the years. So that's how the lore always portrays them. So if you can like hyperpower them through their ritual tattoos that they already use, it just works so well. It plays beautiful.
And I mean,
Majima Mage Killer would be fucking amazing.
you're basically Lo Wang at that point.
Or Kiryu.
Or Kiryu.
You could totally be Kiryu. You could just be that level of enhanced to your, physical punching prowess and ability to take a punch and never go down. And you just become Kiryu. Toughness tattoos. That explains Yakuza. We just made sense of it. There's magical tattooists giving them crazy tattoos. That's why when they take their shirt off and reveal their tattoos, they become unstoppable. Wow.
But yeah, the way that I was thinking of this inscription and engraving system is inscription is one-time use only, limited in power, usable by anybody. Engraving, you need to be magically awakened to use it, but is much less limited.
Okay, so I wasn't thinking of engraving needing to be usable by somebody magically active per se. I'm not totally against the idea, but I was thinking of engraving as also being able to achieve the realm of longsword +1, longsword +2.
How would that work within our system?
Increasing your strength when you're holding it, increasing your toughness when you're holding, like physically altering your body to give you more stat. I mean, it's within the realm of the system, life magic and engraving.
Okay. So I'm thinking the way that it's set up currently, that would be, it would lean more into the Phys-Adept way of doing things, where you would have some magical capability in order to buff yourself and make yourself stronger, faster. So you would be magically awakened anyway. You would be able to use it. The downside would be for somebody like my mage killer. They would not be able to use an engraved weapon. They would have to get multiple inscribed weapons. Which I think is a fair compromise, honestly.
Okay, yep, I like it. I like it. I like it because now the magicians won't be as good with the weapon because they haven't spent as many points on the weapon, but they can get a better weapon by sinking resources into it and activating it.
And activating and engraving will be like 1 spell point. Like it'll be the smallest amount of work.
No, so there's no such thing as a +1 or upgrading a sword. We were just using context reference to get an idea across. Think of it more as runes that have magic effects within them that are whatever the person thought of that is possible within their realm of magic that is then engraved on the weapon. And once activated, aka bound to the one person, that is then the only person who can ever use it. They will have, there's got to be a limit for binding. We've got to figure out a limit for binding. But once they've bound it to themselves, that is theirs. No one else can ever use that magical effect. It's useless on anybody else. So you can't sell it. You can't hand it off.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to activate engraved magic and then pass the weapon to somebody else. You could activate inscribed magic and then pass the weapon to somebody else because that's indiscriminate. But you couldn't do that with engraved magic because it does require that point. And I would say like it just permanently binds.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can get rid of it and get a different weapon eventually and bind to that weapon instead, but no one else can rebind to the old weapon and you can't use it anymore. It's just a normal weapon at that point. It would have to be given new magic. Otherwise, you're just permanently tied to one weapon for the rest of the life of a pen and paper character.
Counterpoint, binding should be one to many. Like one character, many weapons.
And you can use them all? So there's
you
no limit to how many,
because you only got 2 hands.
But what about binding to other things like armors and stuff like that? Then they're going to have like a magic on each sock and a magic on their pants and their magic undies. Never leave home without them.
We haven't looked at equipment yet, but they would be able to bind to, say, their armor set, and that would be one magical engraving. They would be able to bind to potentially 2, maybe 3 weapons, but they're only ever going to be using 1 or 2 of them at a time. Then, like, if somebody's using 2 short swords, both which are magically enhancing their strength by 1, and their armor is giving them, strength 1 or something, then that is functionally the same as somebody using a 2-hander that has a larger engraving on it.
And I say I really hate how tuned magic items work in D&D. Feel like it caps in a way that isn't fun. Yeah, you're talking about the lack of stacking magics. Like the same effects don't stack, so you can put a lot of stuff on, but you only get the effect once, period. Yeah, well, we don't differentiate between weapon and whatnot. It's just thing holding in hand, essentially. We're just calling them weapons for our own visualization. Yeah.
It's just equipment that you have on. And all we've talked about with inventory so far is belts for quick access to items and armor sets and weapons and shields. Like those are the 4 things.
A really light LMG with no bullets that just creates magical bullets and fires them. Just creation magic to just like constantly create bullet in chamber. You just be like with no belt or anything, just firing. Just don't stop.
God, that would be so
like a shotgun
expensive.
too. It'd be neat. Just summon things to blast out of a shotgun.
Yeah. Do it to a classic blunderbuss and just do true chaos on what comes out of it.
Duck.
Mini blunderbusses shooting out of my big blunderbuss that shoot other little mini blunderbusses out of them.
Like, the thing about it is you have a very low set amount of atonement slots and a ton of cool magic items, all requiring attunement.
Yeah, which is why I like the idea of you can attune to whatever you want, but you can have a maximum of 3 attuned things equipped. Just because that's the equipment slots that we have.
Or just what they can handle, I guess would just say. Or
So you can attune as many as you want, and attuning is a timely process, but you can only activate so many per day / at a time.
No, just only what you've got equipped. If you switch, you've got a long rifle that you're using, it takes up both your hands, it's got some good engraving on it. And then, oh shit, somebody's getting up in my face. This is not appropriate for my bolt action rifle. I'm going to put that down. I'm going to pick up my pistol, which I've already attuned to and has different engraving on it, and use that.
There's still a lot of slots of inventory, though.
Sure, but they can only use one at a time.
Well, there's a lot of passive effects.
Yeah, but like, if somebody's rich and has all of the this fancy equipment, like, they should be able to use it.
Let them use it all. Don't limit anything.
Yeah.
Well, we
Like,
can
think of it
definitely
like
play it. We'll just go with it until it's broken.
Like weapon sets in Diablo, for instance. Like, you lose the buffs of your other weapon set, but now you've got other more differenter buffs.
I'm not thinking on the weapon level. I'm thinking on the, like, armor and belt and all my extra things. Every single thing I could possibly engrave something on, and how fucking overboard I can take it. Like I said, we'll go with it until we decide it's broken. And if we never decide it's broken, then we'll just keep going with it.
Yeah, and so just to share a little bit of more context of what's in my head, engraving is for equipable things, because it's not like it's not throwaway. It's not consumable in the same way as an inscribed weapon is, or an inscribed item is.
Well, I mean, on the thing of the rocks, like, sure, you could inscribe that on that rock so that it explodes whenever it hits something if you really want. But after you throw it at the people and it explodes, they can throw it back. It's inscribed. Or no, it would be engraved. It would be engraved, so it wouldn't work for everybody. Actually, it would still work then.
But it would be in little bitty shards because the rock exploded.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
it's a rock that summons other little mini rocks that explode.
Yeah. Maybe it doesn't explode. Maybe it just, like, creates rocks and propels them outwards at high velocity.
I could just see this, like, magic jester
rock
character
shrapnel.
being, and it's just like pranks. He just throws little pranks at people. Like the guns that
with a little bang flag on it.
Yeah, stuff like that, but a magical version of it.
I want a flail that's engraved with force magic, so that it just fucking spins while I'm holding it.
Just helicopter away.
Unintended
Till next time. Or you grab it and the force transfers to you, so the flail stays still and you just start spinning.
Literally turn into a vomit comet. Oh god, I love this. Okay, let's record
the way
this.
that I was thinking was engraving is for equipment.
By the attuned person? Is that what we're going with?
Yeah.
Can only be attuned to one person ever. Is that it for them? No limit to the number of attuned items. Anybody, usable by anybody as an item.
Yeah, and engraving. So, tattoos is where it gets tricky. Because that, I think, is a fucking awesome use case, and I want to keep it. But what if you inscribed a tattoo?
It would have to be an engraved tattoo. It's a permanent mark.
It's a permanent mark, but it has one-time use magic on it, and it's not the body's material, it's the ink that's in the body.
It could fade, I guess.
I mean, it depends on the tattooist. It might be a permanent mark on the person's body if it's real cheap and using basic ink, but it only has one magic effect. So after they've done it, then it's just, hey, you got a tattoo now.
Which, I mean, dope, but...
Yeah, it's fine. And that's one way to do it, but, you know, you can get creative within the system. Maybe the magician thought of a way that the stuff just, burns up. Now you've just got a burn on you afterwards and it's got to heal. Or maybe another one figured out a more expensive way so that it just fades away after a couple days after its use, and then you can get a new one. There's lots of ways you can just figure out a way to do it within game. I don't think the system needs to explain that.
Okay, so then engraved tattoos are attuned, but more usable.
Yeah, they're just a permanent buff to the body for the cost of a tattoo.
And I think inscription and engraving for tattoos is fine. The caveat that I want to put on engraving is only to be used on, something that's sturdy enough, like equipment or your body. But I don't know how to express that.
Permanent items?
Permanent non-consumable items?
Can only be placed on non-consumable items. I'm fine with that. That's clear enough. Things that do not get used up with use.
Yeah. So that way you can have, a pocket full of rocks that are inscribed. But if you wanted to have something that's engraved, it's something that, you won't have a stack of. It's something that you get one. So like you couldn't engrave bullets, but you could engrave a gun.
Yep. And yeah, I love the cursed tattoo, or tattoo assassin. I like the idea of like maybe an eye or something tattooed on the palm that can just suck life energy out of people, stuff like that. That's fun. That's fun. Just activate
it gives a lot for the DM to be able to do for lore and stuff too, right? And like if there's certain magicians that are trying to hide, you can see their tattoos, and it's like, oh, kind of like how like the Yakuza tattoos are now kind of taboo and hidden from the public eye for the most part, right?
Yep. I'm sure inscription
too.
through tattoo is going to become a big deal. And tattoo is something that's always existed in human culture, like as far back as we can think, really. So it's not like you don't have tattooing in some settings or anything. There's all you need is a sharp object and something with color. That's it. You can do it. You can always home rule it later if needed, like engraved throwing axes. Yep. Throw an axe isn't a consumable. That's a permanent item. You can totally go pick that up after you've thrown it. You don't lose it. You've just thrown it.
Bag of explosion inscribed rocks and a speed engraved sling. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, that does sound fun. The engraved throwing axe, I was thinking of a boomerang axe, a dwarven throwing axe. So like you throw it and then it just comes back to your hand. So you can throw it again and then it comes back to your hand. It's called a dwarven bow.
It's a good one. Oh God.
It's actually called a dwarven bow.
it's a thing.
That is a D&D thing, and that is what it does. So now we can kind of describe both of them, since they're both the same thing, but so engrave. Just call them enchantments as a whole.
Sure.
Easier to talk about that way. Sounds fine on paper, but I'd like that dude in the Road Warrior that gets his fingers chopped off trying to catch the boomerang. Let's say that happens if you try to use it and you're not attuned.
or if you just don't have enough precision.
Max enchantment N-2 spell level per sphere. You need at least 3 in a sphere to use it in engraving. Engraving is a skill that determines... no, let's talk about that. So how does the engraving skill work?
I would say spend time to engrave if you have the skill.
Hold on one sec. Your 3 dexterity should make you believe, because 3 dexterity is damn solid.
In our system.
Yep.
And it's precision, actually. But the engraving skill that I'm thinking of, and this is very similar to the inscription skill.
I consider them the same, basically.
But there's an important caveat, the way I described them earlier. Mm-hmm. Engraving can go up to rank 5. It's incredibly hard to do. It's incredibly expensive to do. We're going to have to come up with some way of costing it. But you can go all the way up to rank 5. In inscription, you can only go up to rank 3. That's the way I initially described it.
I like the idea of still limiting the player from going to 5 on the engraving.
I'm not against it, but that is the way I initially described it.
Let's let them go to
a DM thing, or like a campaign maybe. Like
I mean, it gives the DM the ability to hand stuff out, and then he can overwrite our rules if he wants to. But as a default, I think we let them go up to say 4 if you want them to go higher. Because it's just like death bullets is just too much. Like existence deletion bullets is...
Projectile weapon engraved with the ability to inscribe its ammunition with instant death. Yeah, I think limiting it makes sense. Do we want to do N-2 for each?
I like N-2 for each. It gives the player a lot of self-play customization where they can go pretty ham, but it limits the real janky stuff to them having to find ways to acquire it in the world. And then the GM can give them the dumb toys.
Okay, I'm seeing it. I'm envisioning this. If it's something you do in the field, then N-2. Like if it's something that you yourself, without any additional equipment, can do, N-2. There is equipment in the world that allows you to break that limitation, but it's extremely specialized and it's only available to small numbers of elite enchanters.
I like it. It's like you can write a program in Shadowrun, but you can't write like a massive, amazing, super complicated program unless you have the servers and the right decks and all that stuff.
The hardware and operating systems.
Yeah. The interesting part with magic and bullets is the part where is the magic unleashed when the bullet breaks apart? It depends. Depends on the inscription.
Depends on how you make the spell.
And almost every spell infused into the bullet is a potential instant death. Yep. Oh yeah, totally. But I mean, if the bullet doesn't become a fireball and goes into his skull, it's still a pretty instant death. Instant death. your spell is fucking overkill, sure, but without the spell, it's still kill. Actually, what you were saying was just giving me the thought of a sniper rifle that the bullet turns into a xenomorph after you shoot him with it and just bursts out of his chest and starts killing everyone. Yeah.
But that would need to be like create life and also max mind control and alter life, because you're turning his organs into it when you shoot him with it. No, you would need both, because you're giving his organs also their own life, right?
That's fair. You are giving them a life of their own. You're not turning his life into it. I guess you could do it so that I guess you could use dummy rounds that aren't gonna kill him, or shoot him in a non-vital place and turn his body into the killing machine, like a T-virus.
You could do it.
Yeah.
You need to have the resources that the Umbrella Corporation has access to. But you could do it. Like in Shadowrun terms, like it would only be the Megacorps that have access to that stuff.
Yep. You could make if you were to do it futuristic with the bullets and everything on our system, then you could easily write it where you're chasing down Megacorps that are doing real shitty stuff with definitely against the Geneva Convention. You're not allowed to turn people into bioweapons with magic bullets. But I like the system. I like where it's going. You won't be as good of a shot, and almost everybody needs to have a little bit of magic activation, I think, at this point, just to have the ability to fire it.
For engraving, yes,
Yeah.
but that's why I wanted inscription. I wanted inscription to be a thing, so you don't have to have magic.
Yeah, but the engraving is so fucking strong, and to have like an engraving on every piece of your gear.
Oh yeah, no, I don't disagree, but like for my mage killer, for instance, he is so magic, just not part of the world of magic, that he can really leverage inscribed items, but it's very expensive to do so.
How is it expensive to do so? Because of the cost of always buying the consumable items?
You gotta buy consumables every combat.
So we're creating economy already. Built-in economy, which is nice. There is... Because you have... That's one of the problems with D&D, is there's almost nowhere in the system that costs the player money. So after a few campaigns, your players are just like, I have 10 million gold! Ha ha!
And 17 scrolls shoved up my butt. That was my problem with Evie, honestly. Like she was pure fighter, not magically awakened at all, but there were so many scroll spells just available that it didn't matter. But I think like having an economy for magical items is something important.
Honestly, the more I think about it, the more I think anybody should be able to use engraved items as well. On both of them.
Strong disagree. It'd be too powerful.
Only the magic people can
some
make
way,
them, right?
Unless there's some way to like activate it for like a short period of time, like someone can, if someone's so magically in tune, they can attune it for someone else for like, a combat, and then that's kind of it. That's the only way I could really see it. If like Other than that, it might be a bit too strong unless we want just a fully dedicated magic system. Because then everything will have to be magic.
There would be no point in having things that aren't magic if everybody can use engraving.
I mean, my problem is where I see it right now is I don't think there's any reason to not have, like, there's no way you would ever not have magic. I don't think the points are even a question to be able to use engraved items. Even just to take 1 point of magic so you can use the engraved items. And like with 1 point of magic, you can use all the engraved items, right? So you don't have to, I guess it's not even that big of an investment.
Well, it would be 1 point per item, but you have a maximum of, like, it takes those points away. So you'd be down maximum 3 points.
Well, let's talk about that because it doesn't say that anywhere engraving, and this is news to me. Like that, my understanding was you can just have as many engraved items as you want and whatever you're holding is active.
Yeah, but it takes the point while you have it equipped.
While it's active, it takes the point.
This.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't say this, but it was in my head.
Okay, because this is a big limiter that was missing.
Yes. Yeah. No, that was my bad.
If you make engraving generic, then you will lose the purpose of having mages being able to make weapons better while not being good with them. But they can get good with them, and if the weapon is that much better, then all you do is put an point in magic so that you can engrave, like, because there was no of this taking up points, right? So it's just, I have an point in magic, I can engrave every item on my body with a magic effect, and all of a sudden it's like, why wouldn't you take a point in magic? So Rage is going to explain why now.
Yes. So my thought that I didn't express, my bad, is that these engraved items, when they are equipped to you, consume 1 point of your magic and just hold on to it because you need to keep that engraving active. So the whole time you've got that engraving active, you can equip the weapon without it activating the engraving. But if you want to activate the buffs on that weapon or whatever it does, you need to permanently remove that point from your pool for as long as you have it active.
Proposal. There's the cost to activating the weapon is a number of points equal to the cost of casting the spell once. So each weapon can just track, this was this many points for this weapon, this many points for this weapon. You now have to choose how you want to spend your points on passive buffs to your gear or pool to actively cast. And it works very similar to the MP reservation system of Diablo 2.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking of, was the MP reservation system. Yeah, I like it.
Okay, I love it.
I could have sworn we talked about that last time too. Or maybe I just made the same assumption that Rage did.
I think you did, because I don't think I heard that. I don't think I ever heard that, and that's you can understand my reservations at that point, where I was like, I can break this. And if I was a player, I would be the most obnoxious player with my GM. Like, I want to embroider this effect on this sock, and this effect on that sock, and this on the heart in the tattoo, and this on the person holding the heart in the tattoo, and yeah.
And I'd be like, sure, give us 15 trillion credits.
Oh, don't you worry, I will rob a fucking bank.
No, the banks don't even have that much. It's only the megacorps, man.
Don't worry,
you want to take on the whole megacorp?
After I put an engraving on every fucking inch of my body, I can take on the megacorp. Trust me, I am that creative. You need at least no. This is now. It was engraving. There we go.
Engraving be even more interesting outside of combat?
Activate
Absolutely.
weapon.
You can do all sorts of crazy shit with it.
Yeah, that's the whole point of the whole
engraved
point.
Pipe.
Yeah. The never-ending hash pipe. Oh my god, one of those little one-hit hooters that just creates hash at the bottom of it all the time. You could sell that for a fortune.
So since it's biological matter, would that be create life or would that be create matter?
Create matter. It's biological, but it's not living.
True.
I mean, you can create a live version of it.
Every time you take a hit, it screams. Like, ah!
I'm just seeing this contraption that has like a little garden at the top, and this plant just summons, and then it just gets sucked down and smoked.
Cost to activate weapon is cost to cast spell. Activating weapon. Cost to activate
Cost
item.
to activate item, yeah.
Activating item reserves a number of... What is it called?
Do we want to just call it MP? Because everybody knows what MP is?
Yep. Activate
Yeah, that's
item reserves a number of MP equal to activate cost. Yes. And now, you actually have to have enough magic to cast that spell once for your weapon to do that spell. That makes everything super fucking balanced. And now you've put all that effort into putting your magic in, so you can actually have a weapon that works and like magic effects that work in combat without having to cast a spell every time. You can have your extra pool to quick cast things. And are we at actually 1 MP per point right now?
I still think that's too small. Because we have limited engraved items by the number that you can have equipped, and so far we have armor set and both your hands.
And tattoos.
And tattoos.
And tattoos are a thing where like you can just have a bunch of tattoos and choose which tattoos to activate at that day. Which is really fucking awesome for phys adepts.
True, because you could, like, if you wanted to activate it, you would still need to have the number of points available to put into it. So you couldn't just activate all of them.
Yep.
Or if you did just activate all of them, that would be all of your magic.
Yep, exactly. And your magic's just going into heightening your personal ability. And I think when you put it that way, it makes the low MP cost workable and really puts mages into a point where they really need to consider when they're going to spend it, but they can greatly heighten their combat ability with it between casts, where they may only have to cast it 2 or 3 times. So I think 1 per is a decent starting point.
The thing that I don't like with 1 point per rank is that it really makes it niche for spellcasters. If I wanted to play somebody who was purely a spellcaster, I would want to be able to use magic at the drop of a hat.
So not have the cast time be too... You're saying with the cast time, it's a little too limiting. Let's go with... How about 1.5 points?
What about level 1?
You're still going to have at least 2 points in mental stats.
Not necessarily.
Then you shouldn't make a caster.
But it's a thing you could do. Again,
Yeah,
I'm talking edge cases here.
You could do it, and you'd be just fine with it, and you would have a caster that can't cast spells.
You would have a point to activate an engraving. Would we round down or would we round up?
I would round down. Every second point gives you 1. Int division.
Truncation.
Yep. Because, I mean, If you have 1 wisdom and 1 knowledge, you still have a magic point. And you get like a bunch of stat points to apply at the beginning for character creation.
Yeah.
So if you want to just shoot yourself completely in the foot by taking all physical stats and making yourself a mage, then I guess go for it. You know, maybe you're planning to put more into mental later, but you wanted that physical start. You can do it. You wanted to have the activation right away because it's going to cost more to activate later.
So what about an active caster, though?
You definitely
What
want to
if
have
some-
more points.
But you're still maxing out at 20 points.
30.
Yeah, 30 with 1.5.
Yeah. 30 is quite a bit.
That's 6 casts.
At rank 5.
Because we're talking about somebody who's maxed out. Like
Yeah.
They
But-
have the ability to just blink things out of existence.
But
But-
that is a lot of blinking out of existence. Like a lot of it. At 3, you can do 10 casts. And that is more than enough to get through a few combats. 3 is still super powerful.
We'll play test it at 1.5. I'm still leaning 2, but we'll play test it at 1.5.
I'm fine with that. Nothing is in stone ever, right? So.
Except for those rocks.
No, even them, they get blown up.
They're still in stone. It's just stone's not as permanent as people think. Cost to cast a spell, 1 MP per level of spell needed to cast. Cost for a spell is work.
Must also complete work total. I think we need to take the word cost out of there.
Yeah, I just moving it over because this one is part of it, but needs to be reworded. Must delta work total before spell is complete. We all understand that wording, right?
Mm-hmm.
And do we want to have an emergency spell mechanic? Because now we've got inscription and engraving, so you could be prepared for that emergency situation. I don't think we need the do it now pool.
Yeah, we did that with inscription, which
Yeah.
is strong, like super strong, but you need to be pretty strong to even inscribe the basicer things, and you need to think ahead when you do them.
Yes.
Kind of.
Delta, but the way that it's applied in our rule set is specific to our system, in which you need to, the gap between the benchmark and your roll needs to be positive.
Yeah. But it still refers to a delta. It's just,
Yes.
yeah, the term delta refers to a specific delta in our system, and that is the delta between your roll and your target. Or your roll and the other roll, the opposed roll. That's the delta.
Or the benchmark if it's a pass-fail thing.
It's
the
never a
benchmark
pass
is.
fail, remember? The other side, if it's a 2 difficulty task, you don't have a specific target, the 2 difficulty task rolls 2 dice.
Oh, did we decide on the task rolling as well?
Yeah, yeah. This way it's all one rule set, always. Never changes. It's just roll against each other, roll against each other, roll against each other with one rule set.
Well, however that benchmark is arrived to,
Yeah.
you need to roll above it.
Positive delta, good thing. Yeah. And I think Discuss cost to magic, points to cost, other limiting factors. Done. Okay, done. And 1 hour of meditation per point restored. We're still at that?
It seems a little brutal to me. Like if you've got a for lack of a better term, dungeon that you're moving through, it may be restore like half of your pool with 1 hour of meditation. Because keep in mind, a short rest is 15 minutes in D&D terms, which gets you back quite a few of your abilities, depending on what class you're playing. Whereas a long rest is an hour plus. And restoring 1 point for an hour seems pretty brutal.
And we're saying that meditation isn't sleeping. Resting is sleeping in D&D, so you're also recovering health, and this is choosing health or mana.
Yeah.
Because you're sort of like clearing your mind. I mean, if you think of it as... What if it's based on a meditation skill?
Maybe your meditation skill enhances what you get. 2 thoughts. 1, you get some subdivision of your total mana pool during rest, during meditation, not rest, meditation. And then the meditation skill allows you to restore more. Other thought, meditation allows you to restore MP while resting.
Don't like that just because it doesn't really make any sense. I do like the idea of there being a base amount that you do restore guaranteed, and then having a meditation skill that can be delta rolled. How would it work? What would it even roll against? You know, there's no real difficulties, so I don't think it actually works well as a skill. It might just confuse
roll
the
against
skill
mental anguish.
Yeah. or yeah, I guess maybe the but then, you know, our delta totals actually, the total delta possible comes down with the easier jobs, so it makes sense when you're working on things that are easier or bigger. Things that are easier tend to take less work. But it just doesn't, I don't think it plays well anyway. I think about it here. I don't think it works well as a skill. And then pigeonholing all the casters into being forced to take this skill to be usable in the field is also kind of bleh.
Yeah, not super great. So back to that second thought again of meditation allowing you to restore MP whenever you rest. Maybe that's not a skill, because like you're saying, it sort of just pigeonholes you into it. What if we combine the two and say you can give up your rest and instead meditate? Or you can take the skill and you gain skill rank times 2, 1.5 points while resting.
I still don't like the skill idea. I kind of like doing something really simple, like 2 to 4 hours minimum time. As long as they're resting that long, they can choose to either recover health or MP. If they're recovering MP through the rest, they get all of it back.
I like the idea of the minimum time. What about situations where they don't have, you know, multiple hours to devote to restoring MP?
Come
Because there
prepared.
will probably be consumable items that can restore MP. I'm just off the cuff taking a guess there. Makes sense for there to be.
Special drugs, I'm sure, is what they would be. Things that add mental clarity. Focusing.
Yeah,
Durgs.
something.
Durgs.
What I feel like there should be,
And that would be campaign specific.
thought.
The restorative item.
Yeah, whatever that item is. Just
Yeah.
there probably should be one that exists. What if every hour that you rest gains you 1/4 of your MP pool back? And then you can do math based on how long you're resting to see how much MP you get back.
Math.
Math.
How about you do half your MP per hour? Because half is easy math.
I like it. Because 2 hours of rest is significant downtime between engagements. And that will allow you to, spend some time, meditate, rest, clear your mind, get everything back.
Yeah. And doing quarters can just get messy sometimes. It doesn't take that long, but it does slow things down when you're coming out with a 0.75, having to do the math to figure out your remainder, and then it's just... I'm not worried about it if it's a computer doing it, then it's fine, whatever, but... Rules should include a complementary calculator. They do, it's called your brain.
Yeah, so like 1/2 of MP round down per hour of meditation, I think is good. And that way, if you've only got half an hour to meditate and you want to, instead of spending that half hour resting and regaining a little bit of MP, you can still regain your some amount of MP by meditating for the hour that you, or the half hour that you do have.
Oh. There we go.
Yes, I like that.
It's not bacon, it's more like fat. This is just like a 10-pound lump of fat. Well insulated fat, too. There's some good insulating fats in there.
No, I want bacon.
I think I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
And since this is sort of a scale that we're giving, it can be applied as a function rather than just, you have to rest for an hour.
I think our magic system is no longer completely overpowered. I think it now requires considerable investment and has enough downside to where if you don't take magic, you could be much more effective in the early game, for sure. For sure. You're going to land way more shots, you're going to hit way harder, you're going to be way faster. And that is what we wanted. And if your mage can survive and can study and can get those skills up, if you can protect your ADC, you just wait till it levels up.
Whereas my mage killer is all just gonna have to make a fuckload of money to be competitive at late game, which is fine. Like it's supposed to be a flawed character.
Well, we want that money sink as well, right? Like one of the things we want to consider while doing this is that most pen and paper games have no money sink at all anywhere, and players just bloat and inflate, and most of the GM's job is trying to control the fucking player's wealth.
Tax.
And as a GM, let me tell you, when dealing with a powerful mage, there's only so many times you can steal that guy's spellbook. Okay? After a while, it starts to get old. How else do you slow him down? Right? Yeah. Cut his hands off. Ha! Now you gotta cast spells without your somatic component, asshole. Try it now.
Can only read Dwarfish. No.
Yeah, it's a bitch, and you need a way to money sink players. You need it.
So we've got a good money sink here for non-magical characters with inscription, because you're going to have to be buying those consumables all the time.
Magical.
We've got a good money. We've got an intermittent money sink with engraving.
But if
It'd
we
be
make the
big
cost
sums.
big enough, then yeah, if it's something like it's more expensive than anything else that they want, where, they're looking at everything they want, they're like, I could buy all of that stuff right now, or I could keep waiting for my inscription. Or I can keep waiting for my inscription just a little bit longer. And you know what? A lot of players probably won't even make it to the inscription, because I know a lot of people just don't have that kind of self-control. Like, I want this right now. Engraving. Engraving. I meant that. I meant engraving. There's this horrid, lovely thing that was written out called ability score drain. Yeah, that is not happening. It happened in your Pathfinder game. It scares me. Yeah, it's like the most terrible mechanic. Pure punish mechanics I'm not a fan of. Like, anything where like it happens to your character and then the character player is just like, oh, I don't even want to play my character anymore now. I don't want anything like that. It's about having fun. Just let them have fun. Make the players more powerful and just throw more powerful enemies at them. Don't make them weaker.
So the one sort of potentially frustrating thing I can see here is if you are playing a character that relies on inscribed items, it could get pretty frustrating. But because you can become magically awakened at any point in our system, you can switch to engraved items and make that no longer a problem. Mm-hmm. The thing that I'm thinking is, like, I never track ammo in D&D.
I never have to. Infinite arrows.
Yeah, I think it's up to the GM. I say, we'll include a cost for them, and then if you want to track them, it's up to you. It's always been a per campaign thing. I never force players to track ammo. The only time I ever try to track ammo is once in a while in Shadowrun, because you have so many different bullet types. Or if you're an archer, maybe you have infinite arrows, but you only have 10 arrow plus ones.
Yeah. So, like, maybe we don't track regular, or we suggest not tracking regular ammo, but tracking inscribed ammo.
I think when we get to that point, let's work on this next time we do this. Well, we got half an hour still right now. My proposal for the next session of this, with this being so flushed out and me being so fucking happy with this magic system right now, I'm super stoked. Got a little mini chub going on. It's lovely. But I was going to recommend doing out of our contextless items. Going to call it, or items without context, where we just try to come up with the most generic basic stuff that the system would need and include it in a super simple way where it's like, you should have these items in your campaign when using this system.
Basically, how to design items for your campaign.
Yeah, essentially make the framework for it. Yeah, so you have like HP restore, MP restore, ammo, stuff like this, where like, it's
bigger HP restore.
Yeah,
bigger MP restore.
Yeah, there's no context to it, but there's still a recommendation of what size things should be and generally what costing, and give an essentially, a little framework that here we're not starting from nothing. If I want to make a setting for this system, I'm going to take this, drop it in, and just start renaming the things into my context.
Yeah. Yep, I like it.
Okay. I'm going to set it up right now. We're not necessarily going to start it, but no, that's not what I wanted. That's not, where'd my mouse go? There it is. That's the only downside to having 3 monitors.
Where'd my mouse go? If you've got Power Toys, you can double tap Control to show you where your mouse is.
There's a window setting for it too. I just changed my cursor to a giant pink thing. So
I just right click and the context menu pops up for whatever I right clicked on, and you're not going to change anything by right clicking on something. So that's how I find it.
Maybe. Maybe. I do have some things I can't right click
Oh,
on.
fair enough. There are special applications that'll do that sometimes.
You right click on something and it's like, that means delete, right? I'm like, no.
Please don't.
Oh, Sag. Blank
Also, I like
document.
your Titanfall wallpaper.
Oh, thank you. It's rotational. I've got tons of good games. I was just like, I'm going to set a whole lot of good games to rotate as background because I need game backgrounds all the time. But that is a lovely background. Items without context. It's like Doctors Without Borders. Exactly the same thing.
Yeah, identical.
Yep. All right. HP restore. Bigger HP restore. MP restore. Bigger MP restore. Ammo. Gonna add a little recommend only tracking special slash inscribed ammo. F. I was scratching something off my F key was sticky. Yeah.
Just paying a lot of respect. It's fine.
Special slash inscribed ammo. That's what we're worried about. What else? We can add some context examples later on too, but we'll brainstorm these for now.
What else will you need to have? You'll need to have
Armor,
which will be armor
tracked by full suit, not individual component for engraving reasons. Weapons. Lots and lots of them, because that's fun. Bunches and bunches.
Do we want to specifically call out like melee versus ranged weapons? And do we want to have casting implements?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I like how it's just kind of an innate ability of the person. It's a fun feel. And it lets you do wackier things. Setting thing. Yeah, I mean, if they want to. If one person's like, it makes more sense in my setting with this, then they can go ahead and implement it. It's not a big deal then.
What other kinds of consumables do we want to
Yeah,
have?
usually a percentile. Made good decisions, nothing major happened. You recover plenty of arrows, sort of thing. Fair enough. That's not a bad way to do it either.
You have an ammo meter that recharges over time.
I mean, like I said, my engraving on my weapon would just be a matter engraving to create bullets in the chamber for me, always, so that after I fire it, there's a bullet in the chamber.
Just not too quickly, so the remaining gases don't set off the next round.
No, I'm fine with that. I'll just put the gun down and walk away. I'm just gonna leave this pointing here, and I'll be back.
Do we, I guess, like specialized armor and weapons, although that's kind of handled with engraving and inscribing. Fuck, we built a really good magic system.
Something by our neurons combined. There's a and brain.
Yep.
Take form of thought.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of this system, to be perfectly honest. It's probably one of the coolest pen and paper systems I've ever laid my eyes on, as far as adaptability and free use of brain. And I mean, I don't get other pen and papers. I don't get their design approach, because they have the power of a GM's brain to deduce and work out situations, and then they structure it like a fucking computer RPG.
Well, I mean, it comes down to things being derivative, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Being derivative is good. We are derivative of several systems in this system.
Oh, yeah.
But everything sees how powerful and popular D&D is, and is like, we should do that.
Yeah, I know a lot of people do that, and you can do okay doing that, but my problem with doing that is they're already doing that, and they're bigger than me.
Yeah, so you've got to be able to do it like significantly better, or throw in your own twist. Those are really the only two options.
Yeah, you've got to beat them in some sort of scale. If you're not already bigger than them market-wise, then you've got to be bigger than them budget-wise, so that you can take over market share. And turns out they've got pretty big pockets, and I don't. So
I actually love 5e. I think it's the best system that Wizards has put out in a long time.
I quite enjoy it. I find it made it a lot more approachable, but still have it being fun for people who have been playing for a long time.
I agree. I really enjoyed playing 5e as well. It really streamlined all the systems into a way that was really easily digestible.
Though with the advantage system, it does get kind of silly once you realize that you can grab people, and then all you do is you just get everyone to be strong, and then the rest of you just becomes like the cuddle party, and you just hold them down. All right, beat them. All right, next guy, hold them down. All right, come on, hit him with a hammer. I mean, you just go around. It's not a bad thing. It's just like it's just kind of funny. It just ends up being that, because advantage can get pretty strong.
Still not as broken as grapple in 3.5 though.
Yeah, that's basically what we did in 3.5. Is just Bort grabbed whatever the strongest thing was, and everybody killed it. And then Bort grabbed whatever the strongest thing was, and everybody killed it. And Bort grabbed whatever yeah.
And I out-grappled the grapple monster.
and once in a while, when there was too many things, Bort would throw my character across their character, and then we would just flank them and have advantage.
God, that was dumb.
Except multiclassing, you like almost everything else about it. Well, multiclassing has never been good in D&D. And honestly, 5e's multiclassing is the best example of multiclassing in D&D. And the problem with multiclassing is multiclassing doesn't work very well, and really never will work well, because you're just trying to jam two separately designed mechanics together and hope they fucking work. If you want your character to be able to do that, just go fucking classless like we did and let them choose what they want to do.
5e, you can splash other classes really easily, but if you're like straight up multi-classing, like trying to level both, it's not a good time.
Yeah. Classes, I mean, it's a little bit of flavor, but really your multi-class system, if you're going to a class system, should be a little bit of an extra flavor. Don't put a ton of work into it, and don't try to balance all your classes so that they work when they're applied with other classes, because you're just going to end up with the most bland and homogenous system you've ever seen. Just go classless at that point. Just go classless. Don't try to make your classes work together. Just let the character make their own class and just give them stats to apply. It's the way better way to approach that situation. Classes can be great. I love classes. But when I do them, I do pure classes. Like the last time I did class system for my clerics, I had a different cleric class for every god, and like a whole set of abilities they could do that were like derivative of that god's ideology. That was fun.
Yeah, compositional design is awesome. Big agree, Daps.
I agree, Dap. Yeah. You're never going to get an argument out of me. Throwing consumables for use in inscribing should be included. I've added.
Yeah.
Is a must.
What other consumable? Money. You need to design money.
Economy is important. I guess not even. No, economy can be DM, but yeah, some sort of money system.
Currency.
Ability for transaction.
Yeah.
Currency framework, at least. They can determine what the actual face is on the dollar, but still have the mechanics to spend and acquire dollar.
There you go. Transactional currency framework. Make it technical.
TCF.
Now we sound smart.
If it's the term is long enough that you want an acronym for it, you sound real smart.
I don't get what the other picture is with the items without context, but thank you, Magpie. That's wonderful. I love The Office.
Oh, that's MSF. Doctors Without Borders.
Oh. Excellent. That's amazing. You win. You've won today, Magpie. If anybody tries to tell you otherwise, you just be like, no, I won. Deus said so. You can tell them. You send them to me and I'll explain. No, Magpie won.
I think that's like the basics of.
That's pretty much everything you need. Everything else is flavor.
Do we want to have like specifically laid out examples of inscribed items or examples of engraved items?
Yeah. I mean, adding. We'll call it adding context.
Yeah.
Which is definitely what I wanted to do next with them. So HP restore. Health potion. PCP.
That's not so much health restore as just ignore the lack of health.
That's fair. You have no heart. I don't care.
Bacta in Star Wars would be a good example of HP restore.
What is?
Bacta. It's the healing liquid that they dunk you in, and it just heals all your wounds.
Sensu-bean.
Sensu? Is that how you spell it? SENSU? I don't remember.
ZU.
Senzu?
Yeah.
There we go, yeah. Senzu-bean.
Yeah, the Senzu beans. That's exactly what Pseudo was just saying, Magpie. I was trying to remember how to spell it.
Although that's like a full health restore, so whatever. Yeah. Chicken teriyaki restores your HP. True. Also, hey,
the Yakuza method. Oh, now I'm hungry.
Man, I made really good yakiudon for Nariel a while back, and every time I think about it, I'm just like, I should make more of that.
You should. Yeah, welcome, Incaria. Welcome. We've done some fantastic brainworks today, and now we're ending with some fun brainstorming for contextual items for the system. I'm going to add ammo right now. We can do arrows, bullets, magic bullets / arrows. I guess not really. Arrows, bullets, rocks. Good examples.
Inscribed projectiles.
Throwing consumables. We'll call it the same thing so that it's nice and clear. Rocks, jars. What else can be thrown? Consumables. Knives. Stars. Yeah. Frozen poop.
Pointed stick.
Pointed stick. Garden gnomes. Oh my god, I want life magic with garden gnomes. I want to throw garden gnomes at people that come to life and attack them. Yes.
Little
yes.
pocket gnomes. It's like Pikmin at that point.
Real life Pikmin. We can create a Pikmin character that just makes all the characters in signs come to life and attack people.
Have them have them be versed in engineering, and then just like throw a bunch of little workers down, and they just construct your pylons.
Cybermen.
Oh god, yes.
Smelly boots. Thanks, Rube. Welcome. No, just smelly boot, not boots. Just one. It's single projectile.
Silly sock, just an enchanted sock.
It's enchanted to always land in their mouth.
Gross.
And then we should add in all of these things can be inscribed for ammos and consumables.
Up here, the purpose of throwing consumables is to be used in inscribing.
Yeah, but ammo can as well. We should probably call that out.
Recommended only tracking special / inscribed ammo.
Yeah.
It's already in there. Crippling guilt. That
That's
can't
not
be
throwable.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I mean,
or fortunately. That could be unfortunate. Oh man, I was walking to work today and some guy unloaded all of his crippling guilt on me.
I just can't. Everybody be like, I feel you, bro.
Shit happened to me yesterday.
Armor,
weapons,
bulletproof vests, plate mail,
swords, whatnot. Guns, slings, bows, axes, girders,
trees,
garden gnomes.
The gnome chromancer. All you do is gnomes. You hit things with gnomes. You throw gnomes.
Raise gnomes out of ground.
Raise gnome.
Trebuchet.
It shoots little trebuchets. I like my recursion.
Gnome chromancer.
Laser whips.
Monofilament wire.
Monofilament wire. File? Fila. Filament. Those evil skipping toys that fit around your ankles. Oh, hoppets. Call a hoppet. I know, because they were around when I was a kid. And if you tried to use one, you died.
True. Can confirm.
They look like this. I think they were already gone by the time you were old enough to understand what they are, Pseudo, because too many people died. Okay.
I grew up in the era of razor scooters to the shins.
Yep. Razor scooters were still less dangerous than hoppets because the hoppet was all but guaranteed to take you down, and there was no getting it off your leg after. You were just doomed to fall over for the rest of your life. I was trying to add some more high-tech stuff in there to give a span. Armor. What do we consider armor? Plate mail.
Chainmail, leather, plate carriers, bulletproof materials.
Kevlar. Grenade, nope. Spandex. Sure.
That's not armor.
Spend it.
It protects us
Truth.
from other things. What?
I'm confused, Magpie.
Was that English?
I think part of it was.
Jockstrap. Jockstrap is absolutely armor, sure.
Oh dear God.
That is armor I have worn many
Inscribed.
times, and glad I had it on.
Inscribed jockstrap. And it's your only piece of armor because you get an armor set. It's just a jockstrap.
That's so Yakuza. I mean, our
That's just
system could
major.
really make most of Yakuza. It could. And just so you know, jockstraps don't prevent pain; they just prevent injury. Oh God!
It's true.
Oh,
I
God.
still hurt.
I've taken a slap shot there before, and it was not pleasant. One
It
guy.
definitely prevented the injury, though.
Yep.
They do work.
The worst ever. A guy on my team took the hardest slap shot I've ever seen to a direct, straight-on hit to the cup. It dropped him. He blacked out. He had to be taken off of the ice. There's no permanent damage. Cup did its job, but he had a thick blue bruise around the entire outline of where the cup contacts the body. Oh God. You know that cup just went boom, boom, and came in as it took the hit. Oh God. Oh God. Yep. Force field. That's totally an ideal armor.
Well, it's not really armor, though. It's an inscribed or engraved other piece of armor. Because, like, we do have that built into our magic armor system. It's just that's an engraving or
Like,
an inscription on another piece of armor.
The cup has a force field around the rest of the body. Oh no.
Nanotech field projection system. There you go. How's that? Veganism, like in Scott Pilgrim versus the World. That would be very, very contextual, wouldn't it? Veganism. See
Oh, no.
Scott Pilgrim. There you go. Yeah, Sabatons. We got many of the contextual examples. I'm calling it there. Transactional currency frameworks.
Dollars and cents.
Dollars,
Euros
plus
and whatever
cents.
euros subdivide it.
Euros plus whatever. Yen. Caps. What else has been a fun system of money in games?
There's always credits.
Shiny pebbles,
non-distinct.
credits, pence,
Inscribed jockstraps.
pounds and pence. Yeah.
Force field deploying jock straps.
Stone of Jordan was a currency.
It really was.
Blizzard accepted so much that Stone of Jordan was a currency that they used it as the currency to spawn Super Diablo. So,
Yep. Crystals, gold.
shillings, crystals, crystallized demon blood, souls, blood echoes. Got caps. It's up there right under yen. Bones.
Assortment of wires.
Pocket lint.
Pocket
String.
sand dollar.
Stamps.
Fingers.
No, not fingers. Ears.
Ears. Ears was a currency in Diablo 2. Yeah, there's some good examples. I'm pretty sure based on that list, if you read transactional currency frameworks and were super confused and then came down and read this, I think you would understand. I think
Maybe
this
be a
gives
little bit confused.
I think I do think this gets the context across of what a transactional currency framework can be. Like, you read the list and you're like, okay, I get it. It's like anything to represent a currency, yeah. LSD tabs.
Oh god.
MP restore, let's add it here. One other thing.
Poor.
Focus in. What's the actual real life medication? I always forget the name. Help you focus. Ritalin, thank you.
Adderall.
Stuff like that. Anything to sharpen the mind.
Mana pots.
Ether. Mana pots.
Laudanum.
Spell it.
I don't remember. It was the sanity restore in Amnesia.
Dirt was a currency in Waterworld. I do kind of remember that because the whole world was
Soil.
water, and finding soil to actually, soil more rather than dirt, but soil to grow things in was super valuable. Seeds would be valuable in that. I'm sure that would be a good currency. This is a futuristic project. Something from the past might be worth more. Yeah.
To the right person.
Yep. See, and Carrie, a little bit of context for the system we're building. Because we're building a system, not a campaign, we are trying to keep context out of it. And that's why this adding context section is so broad, to give examples of what the context list items really mean. Because everything else is such that you could take this system and think of any setting you want, and this system should be able to work in pretty much any setting. And you can just build your world around the system without having to have the mind to build the magic system and the combat system and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, which is a lot of work. Chicken teriyaki is a bonus item, even if you are playing Metroid, just saying. Yeah, and milk just wins you the game, right?
If you were playing a Metroid campaign, you could definitely use the chicken. Or Castlevania, you could have wall chicken.
Yep. And if you've never played Samus Goes for Milk, well, milk is the whole purpose of the game. You know Samus Goes for Milk, I see. If you've never played Samus Goes for Milk, I recommend it. It's a short play. Very, very short play. And it's free. It's free.
Sounds like a ridiculous ROM hack. I like it.
It is a ridiculous ROM hack. Tube played it on a Friday. Yeah, I think that sums up that. The rest is, bigger MPs, whatever the GM really wants. Ammo, armor, weapon. Okay, we're good, and it's 6. We nailed it.
We did it.
Almost like we know what we're doing sometimes.
For MP? Okay. Totally good with that. I'm actually of the mind that essential oils would make a totally fine in context campaign item for restoring MP.
Yeah.
It's
Help
a
you relax.
Essential.
Yep. Soothing thing.
Clear your mind.
Yep.
Is alcohol an essential oil?
No, that's an essential
certainly
solution.
clears your mind.
But I do have ether in there. Because Final Fantasy, you gotta. So.
Yeah, true.
Meditation is actually a mechanic, not a thing. And that is a mechanic in our game that restores MP. That is the mechanic to restore MP, I should say. They are also just a meme. Yeah, I agree. People have taken them to a meme. But they can be quite beneficial to people as well.
Plus, they smell nice. Like having a nice lavender-scented home.
To some people.
I have a diffuser. And some of the citrus ones are nice smelling.
I just love lavender.
If they're really subtle, I can take it. But anything that becomes too obvious, I just start getting a headache.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like you don't want a heavy-duty lavender. Just a touch.
Yeah,
just a little bit.
Some of them are so potent that even just a touch is just overwhelming, and I feel ill.
That's a
I
shame.
can't go into the stores. I walk into them and
Oh yeah,
my
no,
nose
I cannot
hurts.
go in them.
I get
It's
a nosebleed.
the second I walk into the body shop, I just get like an instant I get dizzy, and I just start getting an instant headache. Like I can feel it throbbing right in here, and I just gotta leave.
The optimal setup is what I've got now, is that there's a lavender bush across the street, and then the breeze blows just a little bit of lavender smell in.
Yeah,
The old natural approach.
yeah. The actual way it was supposed to be done, where you plant lavender around your house and then you can smell it. Yeah, I'm okay with that one. That one doesn't bother me for sure. Yeah, can't have it overpowering. Yeah, no, totally bugs me. And Pookie actually really likes it, so it doesn't work out well sometimes. She'll do like a little bit of oil, and even with my door closed, I can smell it through the door, and it just gives me a headache. And, I mean,
Well, you counteract it with essential herbs.
So, do we want to play more shoot 'em ups later?
Yeah,
down.
sure.
I'm not going anywhere because I did that leg workout and now I can't stand up. That's a thing that happens.
Maybe a little bit of insurgency, maybe a little bit of extraction.
Yeah, I'm down
Maybe
with some more
GTFO.
extraction.
We haven't played GTFO in forever.
If we can
I
get-
actually have brain today.
If we can get 4, I would love to do GTFO. Absolutely. Extraction, GTFO Light, also fun. Insurgency, always
Max
good
of
time.
3.
Yeah. And if I'm the only one playing board, then yeah, I'll do some NHL 22. But if I am playing NHL 22, it's probably because I'm waiting for Rage to come say, hey, I'm ready to play. So, yeah. You got to start dinner. Yeah, my dinner's here. I heard the door ring. I got to go eat it. And I also said at the very beginning, how much is it? I don't know.
I don't remember. We bought it like just before it released, so it was like $25 or something. Like it wasn't.
Something
It was
like
on
that, yeah.
sale a fair bit for like around $20-25.
It is a lot of fun. It is hardcore though, and unforgiving, and you definitely want to have a team that's organized to play it, not necessarily random people. And the bots kind of suck. So
Although they did
stuck.
handle the bots very well,
They
other
did.
than the sticking.
Yeah.
The bots don't aggro enemies unless you've already aggroed them.
yeah, and then they'll start
like
fighting.
that.
It was well done. They're basically just a carrier for an extra tool and an extra gun when you need one, which is fine. It's fine. But yeah, I also said at the very beginning of this show that I have to pee, and I haven't left
Oh
yet.
yeah.
True, you haven't.
So I'm also going to go do that. So until later, when I do intend to be back, I'm Deus.
I'm Rage.
And I'm pseudo.
And may all your shots be headshots.